So getting started, you're going to need a LED laptop screen. So you can buy a whole assortment of these on Amazon, but this is a relatively cheap one that is also HD, high quality, everything that you need. And this supports a 40-pin connector, as you can see here and as you can see in the description, which is important for the input board that you need. So this is a slightly cheaper one than the one I purchased, but I can confirm that this works. I do have one of these models, but the most important thing is that you want to make sure that it says that it is for 40 pins, and then so that your kind of output on your board, your cable, matches the connector on your LED screen. And as you can see, this is already relatively cheap. This is actually the only mechanism besides power that you need, and I'll point this out when I'm actually assembling the screen together. But power is going to be, I'll circle in the video, that little, like on the far bottom left, that black connector there, which is a 2 to 12 volt, I think. I don't know. But you can easily buy those on Amazon for less than 10 bucks, and even in their old connectors. So if you can find these around pretty much functionally anywhere. And if you don't already have one, these connectors are very common. Sometimes they're used for old speakers or even older computers. You'll find plenty of these. But once you have your screen, your input board, and your way to power that board, and an HDMI cable of any quality works, then you now have yourself a HDMI monitor. So I will cut to me assembling that right about now. Okay, so starting off on a better fitting this time. I had tried recording this before and I didn't have quite a functional setup, but this should be better now. So I'm going to have the basic things that you need. Now my board is going to look a lot different from the ones that you probably end up with. This is a little bit more expensive. It's mainly just trying it out mostly. I don't think there's that much of a quality difference. So it's they all just kind of work. So I'll at the end of the assembly, I'll tell you guys how to deal with some of the issues of having this. But for the most part, it's pretty streamlined between all the boards. So the three things you're going to need your display, you're going to need your board with the cables attached, so the cables for the pin connector or for the LED screen, and the boards that allow you to turn it on to having a remote, so just kind of hardwired in, and your power. Now mine's going to look a little bit bulkier. That's because this is old, like very old. This is for a set of speakers back in like 2002 or 2003, and so I guess as a result this is gigantic. But now it just kind of works. But I'll go ahead and I'll plug that in. So to start, the first thing that you probably want to do is take a look at the back of your LED screen. So you're going to notice, depending on your model, mine is going to be slightly different from the one that you buy on Amazon. You're going to have a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot of different things on the back that you do not need to worry about. The only thing that you need to concern yourself with is this either gold or black connector, whatever color it is. Sometimes it's light gray. That's the only thing that you should be relatively concerned about. And you're going to connect it to this right here. So this is going to be, I'll bring this closer a little bit. So the kind of connector, the 40-pin cable or 30-pin cable, depending on what LED screen you want to buy. I'm just going to kind of have usually it's light gold, sometimes it's gray, and on the back of it, it's going to be that same color, but it's going to have a color strip. Most of the time it's green, but I've seen it in black and in blue one time maybe. It's been a while. I normally just see gold and green, but you want to make note of those colors between, because no matter what you do, you want to make sure that when you are plugging it into that 40-pin socket that I pointed out earlier, that the color green is always pointed down. So when you slide it in, you want to be very careful and very gentle with it. If I could get closer, I would, but right about here, you kind of go in level with it, and it sort of slides in. Don't force it in. And if you ever have any or too much resistance kind of going in, you're probably doing it incorrectly, or the device might be damaged in some way. But once you have it connected, you can kind of move it around a little bit. I wouldn't recommend doing that, but it does. If you need to, make sure that it's actually in, that's a good way of doing it. But usually the little ends are aligned and symmetrical, and it's not at an angle, so that's how you know that it's in and good to go. So I'm going to flip this over, and so that way you guys can actually see how it displays. So you want to take your power supply that you're using and take the end of this cable right here, and it's going to be the same on your board. It's always going to be the far left of whatever input board that you use. You plug that in, and you might not be able to see this, but a red light came on. Actually, I'm going to unplug this and plug it back in. So yeah, you have red light that powers on, and on your board it should be the far right. Sometimes it's the far left, but it's always going to be one of the far keys that's going to be your power on. The rest of these are just for input, volume, etc. And as you can see, you now have your HDMI monitor, and it can power on. So it says no signal because there's something plugged into it. I can plug something into it. I have my laptop right next to me, so I will simply just plug it in. So on the bright side, one of the good things about having this board is that you have a lot of connectors. So let's say that you have a sound system and you want to hook it up to that. Well, there are plenty of cables. There's AV cables, there's different audio cables here. There's even it's actually not on a camera. There's AV cables here. There's audio cables. There's even a VGA if you want to go old school. And then there's your HDMI right here. Most of the boards you can find on Amazon will have an HDMI. Some will even just be VGA. It's very functional. When you take apart a screen, you're gonna find this, maybe a more complex version, on inside. And so let me plug this in. And give it a moment. It takes a little second to load, but as you can see, 1080p, 60 hertz. So this is a, oh, I don't think it's actually 1080p set up. Might have to do that again. Sometimes it is a little bit finicky. And then let me hop into display. Actually, oh no, it's just the bezel. Yeah, okay, the bezel's being kind of annoying, so I might have to. I use this for a few projects, but I can show you some video. And the one that you guys, the one that I did link shouldn't have the issues that I'm having. And then this one is a bit older. This is actually recycled out of a laptop. So it is, I believe the native resolution on this one is 1366 by 768. But I'll go ahead and I will play a HD video. Let's just say HD video, no sound. And yep, quality is 1080p. And I'll record this video with OBS. That way you guys can also get sort of another comparison. But 1080p video is playing. It's 60 hertz. It is the same quality as your standard kind of gaming or work monitor. So this is functionally for the low price of about $60. Well, not 60, so 40. So about $80 actually. And then yeah, that's even including the HDMI cable and the power supply. So I'll make sure to put all the links below to all of the parts that I have shown and the parts that I talked about at the beginning of the video, so that way you guys can hopefully buy these parts and make your own 1080p HD monitor for incredibly cheap. So with that, thank you for watching, and yeah, that's about it. Missing someone.